Okay, yes. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's Python class. Yes, so like we discussed yesterday, yes, I have shared the Excel sheet, I think. Yes, I have shared the Excel sheet for the topics discussed, right? So I hope you all have went through that, right? And yeah, so going forward, like from today, we will be discussing different example programs, like how to write different concepts. Okay, so not only these example programs, but through these example programs, we will be learning through different concepts, like whatever operators we might be learning how to perform operations on this, etc. Okay, so yeah, so I think it's time already, so we will get started. Okay, so yes. So in today's practice program, first let us see how to let us write a program to generate a random number. Okay, so these some programs might seem simple, but it is important for you to know about them, like because in future, if you have some requirement like this, if in future if you require a random number in your program, need not to search here and there. You will be ready with this in your mind. Okay, so let me go to my compiler. Okay, so let me take a new file. So here you now you want what you want is a random number, right? So program to print a random number. Okay, so there is an inbuilt module. Okay, so I hope you all are familiar with the concept of module. So there is an inbuilt module called random to work on this random function. So what you have to do is just import this random function. Okay, so inside this random function, if you want an integer, okay, so if you want an integer inside this random class, there is a method inside this random class called as random int. Okay, you can see, like if you keep a dot here, like this Visual Studio is very intelligent, right? Whenever you write the name of a class and keep a dot, you will be able to see all the methods, right? So like you can see these are various methods or variables inside this random class. Okay, so you can go through all this and see. Okay, so this is the extra feature which this Visual Studio provides us, right? So all these are there. Okay, so right now what I'm going to demonstrate is to get a random integer. So that's why what I will do is I will go and write random integer. Okay, so just write array int, and then again we can take the help of this Visual Studio. Okay, so just write a bracket. Okay, so because this is a method, you have to start it with a bracket, right? So just write the bracket, and then imagine you don't know what you have to enter, but you can follow the syntax. Okay, so here it will give you the syntax. What is the syntax? It will take two integers, like a is an integer type, b is an integer type. That means that this rand int function will take two integers. Okay, so what is the work of these two integers? You can have the description below. What is it is saying? It returns random integer in range a and b, including both endpoints. That means that you will be getting a random integer between a and b. Okay, so that is what you have to mention two numbers and give a range for the function. Okay, so when you mention two numbers, a range will be provided to that function. Depending upon that range, you will be getting some random number. Random means any number which computer wants, it can give. Okay, so what let me do is, if let's say I want any random number between 0 and 99, so what I will mention is 0. Okay, so then I will keep a comma. Okay, so like you can see, while I am writing 0, the highlight is in this. Okay, so it is the blue color. That means that right now I am writing the variable in here. Okay, so let's say I have written 0 and I have put a comma. Okay, so now you can see the blue color has changed from a to b. Okay, so that means that you are mentioning the upper limit. Okay, so this is how you can learn about the functions on the go, right? So you no need to know about function earlier. Like if you know some basic functions, it is okay. So but if you know the name of the function, you can understand what does this function do using this Visual Studio tool. Okay, so now that this random integer method inside this random class will give me some random number between 0 and 99 because it is returning. Okay, so what I will do is I will print this. Okay, so let me just print this. Okay, so now I have now this is simple code just to generate a random integer. Okay, so what this will do is it will generate me a random integer and print it. Okay, so now let me just run this. Okay, so as you can see, there is number called as 37 being printed. Okay, so this is how. Okay, then let me just run it again and see what number it will. Okay, so now it is giving me 9. Okay, so then what I will do is I will change the range. Okay, what I will do is I will keep the range from 100 to 1500. Okay, so now let us run it again. See, now there is, now the number being provided is 357. Okay, so this is how this is a random function. Okay, so which is inbuilt function of the Python. Okay, it comes with the Python. So whenever you install Python, these all the functions are imported. Okay, if you want to use that module inside your program, you have to just import like we did in our previous program. And one more thing I have taught you is just what you want to do is, if you want to learn what other methods are there inside this random class, just write random and put a dot. Okay, so see, you have all this method called choice, range, okay, random, sample, okay, beta, variate. Okay, these are some many mathematical functions, I guess. So you can go through all of them. Okay, so just that is what I want you to know, that this Visual Studio helps you to access all the methods inside a class just by placing a dot after the name of the class. Okay, so this is what we have, how we are going to do or going to deal with generating a random number. Okay, so now that the first program is done, let us go to the next program. Okay, so the next program which we will be doing today is program to convert a decimal number to binary number. Okay, so I hope you all are clear with what is decimal number and binary number. Yes, so just to revise you, like we have, let's say you have a number called as 10, right? This is a decimal number. Okay, so what is a binary number? Binary number will normally looks like ones and zeros, 1 1 0 1 1. This is what binary number. Okay, so if you have to convert this binary number, we normally do like prime factorization, like we used to do in max. So what we will do is we will prime factorize 10 with 2. So what have we got? We have got 2 5s are 10, so there is nothing remaining, so we will write 0. Okay, so then what are we going to have? Then again prime factorize it with 2, we will have 2 2s are 4, right? So it is 2 2s are 4, but since it is not completely divisible, there is one remainder remaining. We will write that remainder in there. Then we have 2 1s are 2. So since again it is completely divisible, we have a 0. Okay, so since once we have a 1 at the bottom end, we have, it means that we are done. So that means that 10 in decimal format is equal, so you have to start from here. Okay, you have to start from here and go till up. So write 1 0, write this 1, write this 0, then again we have 1, and again we have 0. Okay, this is called as binary. Okay, so if it is decimal, we will donate it with the base of 10. If it is binary, we will donate it with base of 2. Okay, so in Python, like if you want to write this binary, he will write it as 0 and he will write B. Okay, this indicates that it is a binary number. Then the compiler will write the real value. It is 1010. Okay, so what is the binary equivalent of that decimal 10? The binary equivalent of decimal 10 is 01010. Okay, so I hope it is clear. So now let us go and write a simple program to convert a binary number to convert a decimal number to binary number. Okay, so yes, so what we will do is program to convert binary to decimal to binary. Sorry. Okay, so first let us take a number from the user and convert it into integer. So what we will do is input, enter a number. Okay, then again there is nothing complex to do to convert it into decimal. Just we have a function called as bin. Okay, so what will this function do? It will simply convert. So what we have to do is we have to use that function called bin. Okay, so and have an open bracket and write, see again you have an expression like it, what it is going to take. It will take a number which is on integer format, and what it will return the binary representation of integer. Like if there is a number called as 2796202, what are you going to take? 101010101010. This is the binary equivalent of this 2796202. Okay, so that is how this binary functions work. So let's say if you want the binary equivalent of A, we will keep the value of A. Okay, so then it will convert that and it will keep that in a variable called as a, so instead of just keeping that in variable, we will just directly print it. Okay, no need of keeping it in different variables. So what we will do is we will simply print it. Okay, so once we print it, we should be able to get the binary equivalent. Okay, so let us run this. Okay, now it is asking me to enter a number, so I will enter 10 and press enter. Like you can see, I have gotten, it is starting with 0b. Okay, so 0b indicates that it is a binary number. Okay, so then I have 1010. Okay, so this is the binary equivalent of the decimal 10. Okay, so this is how, using this bin function, you can convert a decimal number to binary, to its binary equivalent. Okay, so I hope it is clear. If you have any doubt, you feel free to interrupt me and ask. Okay, so then we have one more program, like Python also supports, also gives us different outputs using calendar. Okay, so in our previous class, I guess, like we have seen about dates and times, right? So here we can also see about months. Okay, so let us go and understand how to print a calendar. Okay, so program to print a calendar. Okay. So now what I will do is, okay, so if you want to work this calendar, you have to import this module called as calendar itself. Okay, so like we were working earlier, we were working with random numbers, right? So then we imported a random module, right? So now when you want to work with calendar functions, you have to import this calendar module. Simple. Okay, so then let us say, let us write the name of the file dot calendar. Inside this calendar there is a function called as month. Okay, so like you can see, there is a function called as month. Just use that month, and you don't know how to enter the inputs, right? So when you don't know how to enter the inputs, just keep a bracket. Okay, so whenever you keep a bracket, you will again get this help. Okay, so this is help window. What is it is having, first you have to enter the year in integer format, and then you have a comma, then the month in an integer format. Okay, so these are the two things you have. You can have many other, you can also enter weeks. We will not deal with that weeks. So first, as far as now, it will, you have to enter the year, and you can also enter the week. You should also enter the month. Okay, so what I will do is, I will first enter the year as 2022, then I will put a comma, and say I want the calendar for the month of March, so I will enter 3. Okay, so then what am I going to do is, I will just print this statement. Okay, so I will just include this statement in the print bracket, so that I might be able to see the month of the March 2022. Okay, so now let me just run this. Like you can see in my output screen, I have the calendar for the month of March being printed. I also have a title, I have weeks, I have dates, and etc. Okay, so this is how you can also print calendars in Python. Okay, so say here we are just printing the month, a specific month, right? So say you want to print the whole year. Okay, so you can also print the whole year using this calendar. Just write inside this calendar module, there is also a class called as calendar itself. There is a class called month. There is also a class called calendar. And how to give input, if you want to see how to give input, just keep a bracket. Like again, it is saying that for you to enter the year, say you want the calendar for the year 2022, just write the year 2022 and enclose, complete the bracket. Okay, so bracket is done. And now let me just run this again. So let me maximize this. Okay, and just scroll this up. Okay, so when I scroll this up, as you are able to see the calendar for the whole year. Okay, okay, sorry for interruption. I'm back. So now we are also able to see the calendar. Okay, so these are the some functions which some functionalities which you will be able to perform. You can print a month, you can print an year also using this calendar function. Okay, so I hope that is also clear. Now let us proceed to our next program. Okay, so then the next program for us to do is write a program to check whether a number is an Armstrong number or not. Okay, so now this kind of looks important. Like if you have Python as your exam coming up, so please go through this. Okay, so this is most important in terms of exams. Like they will ask, if you have Python as a lab, it is also most probable that you might get this program as a in your lab exam. Okay, before we write the logic, let us understand what is an Armstrong number. Okay, so as you can see, I have also given you the definition. A positive integer is called as an Armstrong number of order, and if it can be written in the form of a power n plus b power n plus c power n plus d power. Okay, to make it simple, let us say this 153. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to extract each digit from the number. Okay, so just extract 153. So take 1, take 5, and take 3. Okay, so multiply 1 3 times, 1 into 1 into 1. Then multiply 5 3 times, 5 into 5 into 5, and multiply 3 3 times, 3 into 3 into 3. Okay, so then add 1. Then add 5 into 5 into 5, 125, and 3 3s are 9, 3s are 27. When you add these three numbers, if you again get the same number, which is 153, this is called as Armstrong number. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear what is an Armstrong number. Let's say if you have 4-digit number, you have to multiply these digits 4 times. Okay, so this is how you are going to have an Armstrong number. Now you have to build a logic. Okay, so before I go and start writing program, I want to explain you some part of logic writing here. Like, say if you have a number called as 153, right? So to check it whether it is an Armstrong number, what are you going to do? You have to you have to separate each digit, right? You have to take 3 out of the number, you have to take 5 out of the number, and you have to take 1 out of the number. Okay, so this is what you have to do, is you have to extract. Okay, to extract digits from a number, what you can do is we have division and modulo division. Let's say you divide 153. Okay, so you divide 153 with 10, right? So what are you going to get? 10. If you multiply with 10, the nearest is 10 15s. So what is 10 15s? We have 10 15s are 150. So what are we going to have? We will be having 3. Okay, so this is the remainder. Okay, so look, as you can see, we are able to get the last number. Okay, so that this is what the logic we will be using. Like if you divide the number, okay, by 10, and if you take out the remainder, what are you going to get? You are going to get the number in the units place, right? So 3 is in units place, 5 is in tens place, and 1 is in hundreds place, right? So if you want to get the units place of any number, not only this logic is not only limited to this program, you can use this anywhere you find it difficult. Okay, so you find if there is a requirement for you to take out the units number from a program, what you are going to do, you are going to divide that number with 10 and have its remainder. Let's say there is a number called as n. Okay, so when you divide that number with 10, okay, and you not only do simple division, but you have to do modulo division. Okay, so what are you going to get? You are going to get the units digit of the number, right? So now we are able to get 3. So we can multiply 3 times. This is 10. So but now we also want to extract 5 out of this number. We also want to extract 1 out of this number, right? So now given that we are done with 3, what we will do is we will take this number as individual. Okay, so where is this number? We are getting this number at the quotient, right? What is the quotient? In the quotient, you will get the remaining of number. Like say if you have a number, okay, if you divide that number instead of modular division, if you just floor divide that number, okay, instead of getting the answer in points, if you just floor divide that number, what are you going to get? You are going to get the remaining part of the number. Let's say you have 742. Okay, so 742, if you modulo divide, you will get 10. Okay, so what will be the answer when you modulo divide 742 with 10? You will get 2. And what will be the answer when you do floor division of 742 with 10 is you will get 74. Okay, so this is how, now that we have now that we have gotten 74, what we will do is we will again divide 74. We will again do modular division of 74 with 10. Okay, so then we will get 4. Okay, so then once we have gotten 4, so again we will modular divide 7 with 10, then we will get 7. Okay, so this is the simple logic, or the most important logic, where every other program will use, where you have to work with the individual digits of a program. Clear? Is it clear to everybody? If anyone has any doubt, you can please ask right now. Okay, so before I'm going to start the logic for this palindrome. Okay. Or if you want me to explain this extracting a number like in a special program, I can do that too. Do that also. If you don't want, like say like it's okay, sir. If you want, I will proceed with the logic for Armstrong. Okay. So let me go. So yeah, program to check if a number is palindrome. Seems like you are clear with that. So if you understand the logic of dividing and modular dividing, then the logic for making Armstrong number will also be easy for you. Okay. So now first let us take a number. So what I will take is I will take a variable called as num, and I will take that number from the user. Okay. Enter a number. Okay. Now what am I going to do is, because I will be dividing and modular dividing this number, so I later I won't be able to compare, right? Like if let's say if you modular divide and do everything, you won't have the original number, right? So you have to compare whether the sum of 1 and 20, 125 and 120, 27, 153 is equals to original number. Okay. So since you have to compare, what I will do is I will store this number into a temporary variable called as temp. Okay, so I have stored this also, and then okay, so 1 second, I have to reverse this. Store that number in a temporary variable. Done. So now that it is done, so now let us also give a variable called as sum, because I have to calculate, right? I have to add 1, I have to add 125, I also add 27, right? So let me also have this number. Okay, so then I will have a while loop. Okay, so in that while loop I will have a logic where I will tell you why I am using temporary variable here. If temp is not equals to 0. Okay, so I have this exiting condition in this while loop. Okay, so now what are we going to do is, first thing we have to do is we have to divide the number with more 10. Okay, so and then store the value. Okay, so what we will do is we will take a variable called as digit, and then what we will do is we will floor divide. Okay, no, we will modulo divide the number with 10. Okay, so whenever let's say you have 157, what is happening? 157 is modulo divided with 10, and then you are going to have 7 in your digit, right? So you have the units digit number in your hand now. Okay, given that, now what you have to do is you have to multiply 7 3 times, right? So what you have to write? You have to write 7 into 7 into 7. Okay, like to do that, you can have this sum. Okay, so add sum is equals to sum plus. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm just multiplying digit up to the power of 3. Okay, so I hope you all remember this exponential operator or to base and power operator, where digit is the base and 3 is the power. Okay, so what is going to happen if you have 7 in the as the value in digit? We will have 7 into 7 into 7. 7 will be multiplied by 3. Okay, so we have multiplied it with 3, and we are adding and storing that in sum. Simple. So we are calculating sum at the each time. So now that we are done with the last units digit, now we also want the ones digit and hundreds digit, right? So what we will do is we will change the value of temp. What we will do is temp is equals to temp floor divided with 10. Okay, so I hope you also understand this, because I have demonstrated you why we are floor dividing earlier. Okay, so I'm dividing and taking the temp again and again, getting the unit ones digit and multiplying the ones digit 3 times, and again storing that in sum. Okay, so given that, it will happen till the number is 0, and it will keep on storing the value in the sum variable. Okay, so everything is done. So now the next logic what we have to do is we have to compare sum with number. Okay, so if sum is equals to number, then we can say that the number is palindrome. Okay, no, it is not palindrome, sorry, it is an Armstrong number. Okay. Then if they are not equal, okay, we have to print it is not an Armstrong. Okay, okay, not Armstrong number. Okay, so let me just go through this logic once again. And yes, okay, seems like everything is correct. If any error, we will deal with it now. Okay, so let me just run this. Okay. It is asking for me to enter a number. I have entered 153. As you can see, it is saying that it is an Armstrong number, because 1 cube plus 5 cube plus 3 cube is equals to 153. We are getting one Armstrong number. Let us try something else. Let me enter 123. It is saying that 123 is not an Armstrong number. Okay, so I hope everything is clear for you right now. Okay, so is everything clear, or if any doubt, you can please ask now. Okay. So in here, what we are learning using this example is, first of all, we are learning about Armstrong number. Then we are learning how to work with modulo division. Okay. And then how to extract individual digits from a number. Okay. So then we also are learning about exponential and also floor division. Okay. So these are some important things which you are learning to work with when we are executing this type of program. Okay. So then I hope since I am getting no doubt, so I am going to proceed further. Then the program which we are going to have is to find the ASCII value. Okay, let us keep that pending for now. What we will do is we will go directly and check, write a program to check if a string is palindrome or not. Okay, so before going that, if anyone knows what is a palindrome, okay, does anyone here know what is a palindrome number? Okay, not string. Can anyone tell me, like text me and tell me what is a palindrome number? Now we are going to write a program to check whether a string is palindrome, but I want you to tell me what is a palindrome number. I'm waiting for your input. So 1 second. Number which is same from front and back. Yes. Okay. So Abhi Chauhan, yes, very good. Thank you again. So like Abhi Chauhan said, if there is a number, let us say I have a number called as, let me just take pencil, as 121, right? So if let us reverse this number and write, even if you reverse this number, it is again the same. So this is called as a palindrome number. Like there are palindrome numbers. Okay, let us say there is a number called as 123. If you reverse this, it is only 321. That's why it is not a palindrome. Simple. Like palindrome numbers, we also have palindrome strings. Okay, so I don't have much examples about palindrome strings, but the most popular I know is Malayalam. Okay, so just go through this Malayalam and check and read this from the last. Okay, it will sound the same Malayalam as even if you read from the beginning or even if you read from the reverse. Okay, so this is what is called as a palindrome string. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to write a program by taking input as a string and check whether that given string is palindrome or not. If you know any other string which is palindrome or not, you can please mention. Okay, so that our dictionary or vocabulary of everyone will be enriched. Okay, so now let us go and write a program to check whether a string is whether a string is palindrome or not. Okay, so here I will be using different methods. Program to check if a string is palindrome. Okay. Now what I will do is I will define a string called as my str. Okay, this is my string. Or I will initialize it as some string. Let us say this string as Malayalam. Okay. Okay. So now I have this string. Okay. Okay. Then let us take one more string which is called as reverse. Okay, so what it will do is, okay, this is also a string. Okay, so but what here I am going to use is I am going to use the slicing of strings. Okay, so what I will do is I will slice a string. Okay, so if you remember our class on strings, we can slice a string. Okay, so like if you want a string from 0th element to 3rd element, you can just write 0 and 3. Okay, so what it will do is it will start from 0 and it will take you, okay, so it will take you to 3 elements. Okay, so this is how you are going to slice. Okay, so but here like if you remember, I have also mentioned you can also have this empty bracket, but in the end you can have this text called as -1. Okay, so if you have this text called as -1, let me just give the name of this string, my_str. One second. You have to mention the name of the string, and then if like once you mention the name of the string and if you write 0 to 3, what it will do is it will slice. Okay, so it will slice from 0th element and it will give you till the 3rd element. Okay, I hope you all remember. Okay, so this is called as slicing a string, but instead of slicing string, the slicing of operator also takes one more operator at the end, which is called as where you can mention -1. Okay, so what is going to happen if I mention -1? Okay, if anyone remembers, can you tell me what will happen if -1? Okay, we don't have much time. So what happens is, if you mention -1, this string starts to load from the reverse. Okay, so it will not copy from starting, but it will start from the reverse. That's why I am storing the whole value in my variable called as reverse. Okay, so this is, I have done storing. So I don't want a smaller string, I want the whole string. So that's why I don't mention the values at 0 and 3. If you keep that as blank, it will take the whole string. Okay, so if you write -1 in the end, instead of taking it from the starting, it will start reading from the end of the string. So now I have the reverse of my string inside this variable called as reverse. So now what I will do is I will compare these two. So just if you want to compare, just write the name of the original string and use an equal to operator and compare it with the reverse string which is stored in my REV. Okay, so if these both are found to be equal, what we will do, we will say that it is a palindrome. Okay, then if those both are not found to be equal, then we should say that it is not a palindrome. Okay, done. Okay, so yes, I think this will do the trick. Okay, so now let us run this and check. So it is, because Malayalam is a palindrome, it is printing at, it is giving us as palindrome. Okay, so this is one of the many logics. Like you can reverse a string using many logics, but I just want you to understand about the slicing operator. Okay, understand about the slicing operator and the importance of giving -1 at the end of slicing operator. That is the one. And I want to show you one more logic. Okay, let's say let's say we will write one more logic where we first, let us say, we will extract each element from the string. Okay, so using this for loop, what I will do is I will extract each element from my string called as my_str. Okay, so then what am I going to do is, let us take an empty string called as reverse. Okay, so what is this? This is an empty string. Okay, so now what am I doing is, okay, so I will write reverse. Okay, so every time I will write I and append it with reverse. Okay, so just what am I doing is I'm adding I to reverse every time. Okay, so I'm adding I to the reverse every time, and just creating this reverse string, and it will also do the same reversing process. And let us check whether it will do the same or not. Okay, so now let us run this. See, it is again showing Malayalam. Let me just change the string into Malayalams, and let us check what it will say. It will say whether it is not a palindrome or not. It is saying that it is not a palindrome. Okay, so this is how you have to do. But what I want to bring you to your notice is what is happening in this small simple line. Okay, so what is being happening? What is this plus? Okay, this plus, when you use with integers, what it does is it does addition, simple. But when you use this plus in case of characters or in case of string, this plus is going to concatenate. Okay, so what it will do is it will concatenate. Okay, so what is concatenation? Again, concatenation is joining one string with another, or joining a character to a bigger string. This is called as concatenate. Okay, so let me just run you through this. Okay, let's say what is the string? The reverse string is empty here. Okay, so we have a reverse string which is empty. Then what is this? I will have first, because we are using my string here, it will have m, right? So what it will do is it will add m and it will concatenate with reverse. Okay, so what do we have? We have m. Okay, so then again it is going, again what are we going to have is, we are going to have the next I value. What is the next I value? A. Okay, so what it will do is, now it will have a which is concatenated with earlier reverse string. What do we have in earlier reverse string? We have m, right? So this is how we are going to have. Then after a, it will take the next element which is L. So what it will do is it will take L, and again it will concatenate with earlier reverse string. What do we have in the reverse string? We have LAM. So we will have LAM. So again what do we have? We have again A. So A is being concatenated with what is the earlier string? We have LAM AM. Okay, so this is how we are placing the new character in the front. Okay, we are placing the new character in the front again and again, and thus we are able to get a reverse. Okay, so even though this looks simple, this is very used. Okay, so not only in this kind of program, we use this logic like reversing in recursion or many different types of applications. Okay, now I want you to do something. Is what I will do is, instead of let us just remove this logic. Okay, let's say this palindrome is done. Now what I will do is I will just print reverse. Okay, so print reverse REV. Okay, so reversing is being printed. Done. Okay, let us just run this and see. So like you can see, if you have Malayalam, as Malayalam is being printed in the reverse direction. Okay. So now let's say I want you to tell me, instead of I plus reverse, okay. So what I will write is, I will write reverse plus I. Okay. So, and let us, this is same, so we won't be able to see difference. Here I will write hello. Okay. So I have written hello, and I want any one of you to tell me what is the output I am going to get. Okay. Whether I will get hello as the, because I have reversed, whether I will get O-H-E-L-L-O or O-L-L-E-H, what am I going to get? Can anyone just please try? Okay, so just yes. So Abhi Chauhan is getting, we will be getting hello only. Yes. So let us try and test what Abhi Chauhan has said is correct or not. Okay. 1 second. Run. See, we are able to get hello. So what is happening? Just I am reversing. Okay. So every time if you append the new character after the string, it will add at the end. Okay. So when you add the new character at the end, you will be getting in the linear direction. Okay. So but instead of reverse plus I, if you write I plus reverse, what are you going to get? You are going to get the reverse string. Let us now run this. See, now you are getting OLLEH. Okay, so now you are going to get OLLEH. Okay, so now what let us do is, okay, okay, so let me just teach you one more thing. Okay, so now we have the same program which checks whether a string is reverse or not. Okay, so what I will do is, I will give a character called as ABA. Okay, so what is this string? This is a string. What is this? It is a palindrome. Like if you write ABA in reverse, you will also get ABA, right? Okay, so if it should, what should my program should say? It should say that it is a palindrome, right? Because ABA is a palindrome. Okay, so now let us run and see what it will say. It is saying that ABA is not a palindrome. Okay, so now we have a problem in here because ABA is palindrome, obviously. Okay, so but why is it saying it is not a palindrome? Can anyone guess what problem am I having here? Let's say, because just for you to make it clear, let's say I have Malayalam. Okay, Malayalam, and let me just run this again. It is saying palindrome. That means that it is good. Okay, case sensitive. Yes, Abhi Chauhan, you have done this right. This is case sensitive. So because I don't have time here, I won't be implementing this here. So I will give you this as homework. What you have to do is, because earlier I was having this AB as case sensitive. When you reverse this, you have small a at the front. Okay, small a is not equal to capital A. So this is case sensitive. So what I want you to do as a practice is convert the string into smaller case. You know that method I have taught you, and then compare. Okay, so then even if you give a capital letter, you will get it is as palindrome. Okay, so take this one as practice and do it by yourself. Okay, so if not, we will do it in tomorrow's class also. Okay, so that is what we have for today's class. Any doubt we can take before the session ends. Okay.